This is true. You know what else refreshed me? We know what was actually a delight. I'm glad they replayed pretty much in its entirety Wrestler's Court, which I didn't see because I don't watch SmackDown, but I thought, if there was ever an argument for me to watch that more often, they're just having a bunch of fun, aren't they?
Oh, man. So the next match is Otis versus The Miz with the Money in the Bank on the line. And as you mentioned, just that last Friday, 2 days ago, they had a Wrestler's Court scene where JBL is the judge with Ron Simmons kind of as the enforcer there. And you have The Miz and John Morrison trying to argue that Otis holding the Money in the Bank is causing emotional trauma and all this stuff, that they're trying to get it off him. Otis and Tucker are arguing to keep it because he won it fairly. And then they start calling on a bunch of different people to sort of testify for each case. And the funniest part is that, you have people trying to give their testimonies and stuff. And then immediately they just I think it was either Miz or Morrison or Tucker. One of them was giving their emotional speech as to why Otis shouldn't or shouldn't have it. And then they immediately cut to just Asuka just screaming in Japanese, just screaming, looking all over the place. JBL looking at her all confused and stuff.
The funny part is when he turns to Teddy Long and goes, "Did you get all that?" Every word.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I was trying to take notes down. That JBL is he's deliberating, and he's taking everything in, and he's talking to Miz and Morrison and saying things like, "You're accusing Otis of, I don't know, running it down or making a mockery of whatever." He goes, "But that's kind of the nature of this business." And I thought that was really funny. He took this funny turn. He was like, "Well, that's being a wrestler, man."
They were the one thing they said was that he was causing harm to the locker room or something like that, and that's when he says, that's what this business is about.
Right.
Yeah.
But, so just when it sounds like John Bradshaw Layfield, former WWE champion, future Hall of Famer, is going to rule in favor of the hometown hero, he rules in favor of the heels.
Yeah, and at first my dad was confused because he was like, "What? Why did he rule in?" And then that's when the announcers come in. Just say it how it is. They paid him off.
Yeah,
they bribed him.
It's funny too because I definitely thought, did I miss something? Because I was really into that segment. I thought too, was that JBL one of the best heels of the last 10 or 15 years? Being just the best heel of the last 10 or 15 years? Because I'd be okay with that too. If he was just like, "Yep, I'm just a massive jerk."
Yeah, I know. I mean, leave it to JBL. And when he was playing his gimmick, the Texas Millionaire. Leave it to him to want more money.
Yep.
But
how much time we got this episode?
11 minutes.
11 minutes. That sets us up to talk a bit about what's happening next. And I think the next episode is going to get into maybe what I would say is the best part of the night.
Yeah, definitely. But so this match, it's Otis versus Miz for Money in the Bank. Tucker's out there, with Otis because they're tag partners.
Now, hold on. Did you happen to notice something about when Miz was introduced?
Did I happen to notice something about when Miz was introduced? No. I'll tell you where my attention was. I was playing Animal Crossing. Please, tell me what happened.
I think The Miz was being sponsored by the Miami Marlins.
What?
Did you not see his name when it popped out? The M was in the exact logo of the Marlins.
Really?
Yeah, I looked at him like, I had to replay it. I went back. I'm like, did I see that right? And sure enough, his M was exactly the M from the Marlins. I was like, okay. Is there supposed to be a tie here or something?
Yeah.
And the one thing I noticed was, he walks out with Morrison, and I look at my dad and I go, so within the past 2 days, Morrison shaved?
Yes, he has. Yeah, just for tonight. That was funny.
You would have thought, he would have shaved for the court scene,
But how funny and how weird. But no, we've got Miz challenging for Otis's Money in the Bank contract. The assurance that he can challenge either champion at any time he wants in the next calendar year from May.
Yeah. And
I'm really into the fact that the commentators talk about the fact that this sort of stipulation, fighting for that contract after it's been won, hasn't happened in, I think they called it 15 years.
Yeah, because I think the last person to do it was Edge versus Mr. Kennedy.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, I think if you go back to our Money in the Bank episode when we did that back in May, April-ish.
Yep.
I think you, Ricardo, and I even said, we expected 3 things. We either expected them within the year that they have for that contract to either build up Otis somehow to get him to that main event level so that he can cash in.
Yep.
We either expect him to fail to cash in, or we expect them to realize, that they might have made a mistake and then have someone beat them for the briefcase.
Right. That's literally every possibility this could have led to. I think he's holding his own against the Miz. Firing up the way he does, jiggling the way he does. Otis is a very round man, for folks who hadn't heard that episode.
Yeah, and so, I kind of want to just briefly go through this because I have my own personal gripe to voice about this, about what happened.
Yeah.
So Morrison gets the briefcase. He tries to attack Otis with it, but the ref catches him. He drops the briefcase. The ref ejects Morrison out of the match.
Yes, he does. Yes, she does.
And then the Miz gets, I think, thrown to the outside. And when Otis goes to try and get the Miz, Tucker goes... Oh, no, the Miz is still inside the ring, sorry. He tries to go out. Tucker gets the briefcase, whacks Otis so hard that the briefcase gets dented. And then the Miz, I believe he rolled up Otis, and then he wins the contract.
Yes, he does.
And then you get the backstage segment where... Tucker's saying, he turned on Otis because, Otis was the one getting all the attention, He, Tucker's, feeling, how would you say, underappreciated because, he's the one that's kind of like the backbone of the team, but everyone cares more about Otis because he's the more charismatic one, despite him being the one. I was really
surprised we got this segment tonight, or last night, as opposed to, SmackDown after. They didn't wait a week. They gave this guy some mic time. And, we've heard this before, but I thought he did it really well.
Yeah.
He said Otis can't tie his shoes without him. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. And here's the thing, again, that makes it complicated. For those of you who don't know, literally the week or two before, Heavy Machinery was split up because Tucker got drafted to Raw and Otis got drafted to SmackDown. And... Yep. I believe they said the tie with that was that because of, for some reason, the Miz having influence with the USA Network, he was able to get Mandy Rose on Raw and then split Heavy Machinery.
Mm-hmm.
But so my issue with this is look at WWE's tag division.
Goodness.
Look at their divisions for both Raw and SmackDown. Yep. I literally told my dad, Raw has the New Day, the Viking Raiders, which one of them is out for injury for probably a year or more because of a really bad injury he suffered. So that tag team's out right now.
You got Shayna and Nia Jax. Separate division.
I can't. I literally had to search up their rosters just to let my dad know. But I was like, you look at SmackDown. They have the Street Profits.
Yep.
They have Raw has Miz and Morrison. I guess you want to count them as a tag team. SmackDown has the Street Profits, Shinsuke and Cesaro, which is a thrown together tag team.
Lucha House Party, but any minute now that's gonna go.
I think they got drafted to Raw actually.
Oh my!
And then Kalisto stayed on SmackDown, I believe. So they kind of split them. And then Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, another thrown together tag team.
Yeah.
I was like, the 2 tag titles are actual tag teams, and then the rest of the division is made up by people they just throw together to make a tag team,
Yeah.
And so I was like, what is WWE doing when they fired a bunch of their tag teams back in April?
Mm-hmm.
they haven't called any up from NXT. So, you have a bunch of thrown together tag teams, not enough to really make up a division, right, along with your two champions.
Let alone two divisions,
yeah.
Right?
Why are you continually splitting your already formed tag teams? That was my issue.
Great question. And if I were to not play devil's advocate, but here's the other side of the same argument, Jack. If there was plans to make Tucky a giant star because he's athletic, he's big,
yeah,
it would be worth the split.
Yeah.
But we've been a part of this business. We've been fans of this business long enough to know exactly what's going to come of the split, Jack. Nothing's going to come of the split. Tucky's going to fall by the wayside, and we're going to see him whenever there's a lumberjack match or a 24/7 scramble, Yeah. Goodness gracious. That's the only thing that makes me, really upset by this. It's well, I sure wish this was to serve a greater purpose for either character, but it's not.
It's like with the women's division and the Iconics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You already have so little women's tag teams. Why are you splitting your, again, already established
supposedly ones? To make Peyton Royce a star. Well, I don't have the greatest faith in you to do that.
And especially when you forgot to book her on one of the shows.
Goodness gracious.
Because that's how much she's in your mind.
They should all join Retribution. They should all just slowly buy a mask, make that stable just a whole, like a whole show's roster worth of people. NWO, that's some good.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's going to look like, when Russo came out in WCW with what was essentially the entire mid-card and everyone turned heel. Yeah, but, as we wrap up, there's about 3 minutes left on this episode. I just want to say, what really hurts me the most, is not, that, of course, we've seen, them split tag teams and nothing comes of it. What hurts me the most is if WWE actually cared about tag team wrestling, if they unified the tag titles because they realized, even in their heydays, back when 2016 when the brand split started, they didn't have enough tag teams. What hurts me the most is if you had a unified division and you cared about tag wrestling, and you actually showed that care, your division could have looked like the New Day, the Usos, American Alpha, the Revival, and then in later years when they bring in, War Machine, you have Gallows and Anderson, you could have Lucha House Party, Heavy Machinery, even some of the other NXT tag teams that get called up, It's like, you look at all these great tag teams they had, and what came of it? Nothing.
Yeah.
It was literally the sole reason the Revival left was because they didn't care about tag wrestling.
Yeah, and it's like, you have no shortage of talent. You're just not letting them do what they do really well.
Yeah. And it's not like to me, the only cases we saw of them caring about tag team wrestling was the New Day Usos feud and 2016 SmackDown when the brand split first happened. And that's just because SmackDown truly kind of showed care for, I guess you could say, wrestling, really, because it was like everything was on fire. The WWE Championship scene was on fire, the Intercontinental scene, the tag title scene, the women's division, everything was on fire back then. But it's like, as you progress on and on, it seems
what else is on fire? You are, Jack, because you're hot. This has got you all hot.
It just comes from the fact that, especially, as you know, watching these guys come up from NXT,
Yeah.
Especially seeing as how, NXT really cares about it, because what do they have? The Dusty Rhodes Tag Title Tournament, that they always host almost year to year. Sure, they throw together a couple teams to make do because they don't have enough tag teams, but at least they put on shows to showcase their tag teams. DIY main evented so many takeovers, So it's like, I don't know. I just get heated a lot thinking about how badly they mishandle.
Oh, yes. I'm with you, sir.
Especially being that, one of my favorite matches of all time is DIY versus the Revival, TakeOver Toronto, 2 out of 3 falls,
A classic. Check it out, y'all.
Yeah, but so tune into the next episode where we'll continue to talk about the rest of the Hell in a Cell card.